Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Spread Effect Show. I'm your host, Nathaniel Broughton. I'm here today with my friend Ryan Dimillo from Buffalo, New York. He's the VP of Operations at Quinlan. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great.
All right, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks. It's always nice when the weather in Buffalo is sunny and not snowing.
That's right. Good time of year for Buffalo, New York. We've got actually, honestly, from right here, I can see the word Buffalo painted on our wall because we have an employee from Buffalo. I'm sure Chris and Zach have told you about him and all his Buffalo antics.
I'm guessing is it Devin?
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Very
that's
passionate people from Buffalo, but I'm sure it's because it's a good place to be from.
absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, right on. Well, cool. Well, we're going to hop into some chats about online marketing, but I think also me and Ryan were talking off camera a little bit, and he's kind of the general manager, so to speak, over at Quinlan. Has got a lot of experience, not just in the online marketing space and running campaigns, but also in running and building an agency. So I think there's a lot of cool things we can jump into there, as opposed to just talking about tactics externally for what you can do for clients. Also, running a business and what it takes to be in this industry and be successful like he has been. And, hop into some other things here, some talk about hyper local marketing. We've kind of shared some experience in the self-storage space among some clients, and I think that'd be kind of cool to talk about, share some stories there. Hyper competitive space, but a cool one and a fun one with where a lot of tactics that work for just traditional online marketing things come into play. We kind of got to bring them all together, and I like that one. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first of all, tell us a little about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience here. Personal background, professional background, how you ended up in internet marketing, all that.
Sure, sure. As we kind of alluded to before we jumped on here, um, uh, I found, I guess I'll take it all the way back. I found technology at not an extremely young age, but I remember I was 9 years old. And my father, who's an attorney and knows nothing about technology to this day, he's that cliche. He can't even fire up a computer or anything like that. He can't find the power button. But he had the wherewithal to buy me a computer at the time. It was an Apple II GS. I always remember that. And although the box sat around for a while, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. The boxes were just sitting in my room. And that's how I remember what model it was in that too, because it was just staring back at me. But he didn't know how to set it up, but he did. After a few months, he called the high school and asked if someone was in the computer science program there. They could help out set up this computer and teaching his son computers. They ended up finding the valedictorian at the time to come sit with me, an 8-year-old, every day after school and teach me how to fire up the computer, how to do some basic command line stuff, how to play with Print Shop Deluxe and a few of the other, there's games involved there too. But that kind of really set the path for me moving forward. I had an outstanding mentor at a very young age, and then from there on out, I kind of seeked mentors, or sometimes they seeked me out. And I had a great one in high school. It was like a creative genius. Um, it was the art teacher at my local high school. His name is Jason Wolf. I guess I'll give him a plug.
There we go.
And he was an inspiring, outstanding teacher at the high school. Pulled me aside at one point and said, you're pretty good at some of these design programs on the computer. I remember we had the candy-colored iMacs at the time, and I think Flash 3 or 4 was out as well. And I really enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. And he pulled me aside and asked if he could train me when I wasn't playing sports or working or anything like that, and on the computer. And he taught me HTML, JavaScript, Flash, Bryce, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, just everything. I think it was all Macromedia products at the time, wasn't Adobe. But anyway, needless to say, every stage in my life, I've had a great mentor. I think there've been like 5 of them. And they've really kind of helped define me. And although I was supposed to go to law school at one point, I kind of rebelled and ended up building websites as a side business, helping that grow on the side. At one point, I was developing a social media platform for Buffalo sports fans, and
Nice.
I actually got not subpoenaed, but cease and desist from the NHL because they were building NHL Connect at the time. But
You got to
a lot of
frame that and put that on the wall.
yeah, exactly. But I had some interesting experiences along the way. and ultimately I found Quinlan and Company. I came on as a web developer,
Hmm.
very low pay, to prove my way, get the old foot in the door scenario. And I was doing PHP development, a lot of LAMP stack type stuff. I kind of showed the agency, a traditional agency at the time, that the importance of digital and where the industry was headed. Had to educate a lot of the older employees, legacy employees,
Hmm.
and over time I gained enough authority, if you will,
Hmm.
and worked my way up to being IT director, and then ultimately VP of operations here. And as you put it, kind of the general manager, where there's the owner, there's me, and then we have all these great teams underneath, which are just functioning in many different areas, from video to SEO to web development to a lot of the traditional media as well,
Hmm.
whether it be branding and graphic design, trade show booths, things like that. So the company that I'm working for now has been around for 26 years. I think it was started in like 1987. Like I said, very traditional based. And it's been a challenge to convert all of the kind of the old mindset and the old way of doing things
Uh-huh.
to kind of the new way, where, for instance, a lot of the people that work at our company are used to kind of the being the agency of record for different businesses. An agency of record really means you get everything: media
Hmm.
buys, you're building the website, you're placing all the, or you're doing all the print ads, you're doing everything, market research. But times have changed, and a lot of our um, clients are really project based now. So that's a challenge to kind of change that mindset where, maybe we're just doing a website and SEO, maybe some content marketing, but we're not touching the print stuff, and we're not placing any of the media. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a bit of a culture shock there, and also the fact that you really need to have hybrid employees, ones that can have an understanding of traditional, but also jump into the digital realm, the digital spectrum, and be able to, that understand HTML, that understand where Google's headed, that are interested in continuous improvement and changing with the times, because the times are changing so rapidly.
Yeah, that's
Things like
really
that.
it's really interesting to hear because I think a lot of traditional agencies struggle with making that switch, and the fact that Quinlan's been in business for so many years is kind of a feather in the cap all in itself because so much has changed. That's awesome. How did you guys? I mean, did you see the changes coming just by monitoring the macro industry of agencies and marketing, or was it also client requests that were kind of pushing you in that direction? How have you been able to successfully navigate those waters? Because I don't think a lot of people have.
I would say for me, I got a lot of it from just academia, I guess.
Hmm.
I went to a great college, plug, our Rochester Institute of Technology. It's not
Okay.
no MI, it's not an MIT type school, but very
RIT.
proficient, very proficient in technology, and they were really pushing the envelope and training everyone there to be first movers,
Hmm.
and kind of being disruptive in technology, understanding disruptive technologies and that. So I kind of came with that mindset, and I was able to kind of help the company identify certain signals, whether they be client-based or industry-based, as you mentioned.
Hmm.
But yeah, our clients at times would say, we don't want to buy yellow pages anymore. Sorry, we're not interested.
Hmm.
Or the broadcast spend doesn't make sense for us anymore. Or um, you know, we can't track these results. Why are we spending money here? Help us define this ROI. And
Hmm.
if we define the ROI there, we started to realize after a while that traditional media is very limited in that sense. And that's a whole other topic in terms of
Sure.
attribution for offline media. But um, we started to get the hints that all the signals were there that we really need to start to transition into more digital, more tracking, more ROI based stuff. Analytics were getting more and more popular. I mean, that's still pretty late in the game, and we're talking maybe '07, '08. That's
Hmm.
kind of late, I would say. But now we're really doing a good job of keeping up. We were playing catch up before. Now we're kind of riding the wave, but we're trying to get ahead of it now.
That's pretty cool that you're, it seems like you guys have really good relationships with your clients then for them to come to you and ask for you to, maybe develop that competency or try to go along the path with them and do it together as opposed to jumping ship to someone who maybe already had it built.
Oh,
That's
absolutely. And one of the things that we try to do I mean, I think everybody should try to do this if they're not doing it already, is just becoming that trusted advisor
hmm
to your clients, where they basically, whenever a question pops in their head, that you have such a good relationship that you're the first person they're going to call and they're going to bounce that idea off with. And that it's not going to be, they're kind of working against you, trying to see what other vendors are doing or things like that. But having that relationship and we could talk about that more too if you wanted to, but it's about getting a lot of face time, really.
Right on.
It's getting a ton of face time and proving that you're an expert in your field.
Do you guys
Um,
then have a lot of regional clients that are near Buffalo? Are your guys' only offices in Buffalo? What's kind of the
yeah,
makeup of the? Okay, cool.
yeah. We're again, I'm going to use the word traditionally a lot, uh, but historically, we kind of have a very limited footprint in this area.
Okay.
And that's why we've been a full service advertising agency. So we can kind of do it all to stay within our footprint. But as we're starting to specialize in certain things, our footprint has started to widen as of late.
hmm
But yeah, it's more or less regionally based. I think the previous owner before this one was able to kind of walk across the street and kind of visit with clients that way.
hmm
He could almost just walk there or ride his bike there. It wasn't, you're traveling via plane or train or anything like that. So
hmm
they're all local. A lot of our clients have been with us since the beginning. Some of them, I mean, there's probably a good percentage, maybe half of them that are new, but the other half have been with us for a very long time. And over that time period, they've grown with us, which has been
hmm
outstanding. So, and a lot of the CMOs, the chief marketing officers, and that are still there as well. So you have that relationship. It's really nice.
Nice, nice. I think a lot of people would like to have that and can't or don't, so it's good to hear. So let's fast forward to today and talk about maybe some of those CMOs or some of your clients. I mean, a lot of the things we talk about on this show are like what's happening right now. So what's new in 2013 a little bit, and what are you doing with your CMOs and your clients, and what are they bringing back to the table for you? What are the challenges, etc.
Sure. I think the challenge is always, there's a few. Number one, it's always maintaining that expert status. Why I always ask myself, why would a client want to work with us?
hmm
Why would they want to spend their money with us? And one of the things that we try to do with that is we maintain certifications that we get independently certified for different things. So everything from the guy working here that's doing Photoshop and graphic design, he's Adobe Photoshop certified. He's InDesign certified. He's certified across the board with that.
hmm
That's doing SEO, analytics, AdWords, maybe even HubSpot, inbound marketing certified. So each person that works at our company is certified at what they do to maintain that expert level status. That's kind of the element that always needs to be there in order for us to maintain a really strong relationship. That, along with FaceTime, I would say. But
Okay.
some of the things that we're getting back from them is that we need to provide ROI for everything that we do. Not that they don't trust us, but they need to report back to their, the higher level guys, the CEOs, the C-level people, and just be able to show them numbers, be able to prove with analytics,
hmm
and that's been a huge thing. We've been working on a lot with our development team, coming up with ways to like quantify, the impact of social media or the impact of content marketing. Other things. What else? Trying to think here.
Well, let's talk
Yeah,
about social media attribution because that's a huge challenge for any agency.
sure.
I mean, you guys developing internal tools that aggregate data from some of the freeware ones like a Google Analytics to try to build something custom to show to your client. Is that which part of it, or?
This is actually pretty new. Sorry, and the other question you're asking too,
Eh,
responsive design is very big for us as
okay,
well. That's something that through mobile and the tablets and the different screen sizes and that
sure.
has been a trend. But anyway, sorry about that. I had a
That's
little bit
okay.
of Um, they as far as let's see here. Sorry, what was your question again? I
About
apologize.
social media attribution, how you guys are
Oh,
attacking that internally with tools or reports or however.
sure. This is again. Sorry, I'll jump back.
It's okay.
This is a new thing for us. Basically, there's kind of three different ways of going into attribution. First click, last click, and then there's that multi-channel attribution.
Uh-huh.
What we should be doing is multi-channel attribution, where you're kind of giving credit to all the different players along the way that had played a part in resulting in a conversion, right?
Right.
Say for the most part, 99% of our clients right now are getting last click. Unfortunately, we don't have the correct infrastructure in place for tracking that stuff, the tracking pixels and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're currently working on. But most of it's been last click. We have some clients that do first click, but yeah, if a person converts through Google AdWords, we'll give credit to Google AdWords instead of they may have, visited a particular blog post. They may have, been on social media for a little while. Then clicked on that particular ad. We don't have that kind of tracking in place yet, but I think that's where the industry is certainly headed, if it isn't already headed there, to get that multi-channel attribution look.
Right. It's almost kind of like the same challenge that, in some ways, the traditional media used to have. You had problems with tracking ROI and probably tracking attribution. Now there's so many freaking channels online. Again, we're faced with this challenge, but it's one that I think technology can solve, whether it's like a platform-wide thing or pulling together different ones, the mobile one with the Google Analytics,
Right.
whatever. It's interesting.
The and also, I was was just a PubCon with some of the guys from your team, and I know they didn't go to any of the. I don't mean to rat them out or anything like that. I
No,
don't
it's
think
all
they
right.
went to any of the sessions. I think they're on bourbon a little bit,
I
but
taught them well.
but what was I going to say? There was some discussion going on for attribution and the fact that attribution is headed by way of tracking offline attribution.
Hmm.
If you happen to get a certain coupon or a certain print or something like that, that you can give credit to offline media. It's not. I don't know if that's there yet either,
Hmm.
but that's where it's going to be headed, where offline and online are both being tracked, and everything's kind of getting its own credit for leading to a conversion.
Okay. And I mean, you mentioned being at PubCon, and I know you described your role as VP of Operations and kind of a general manager role. It seems that you're kind of leading the charge on the SEO content marketing front for the company as far as education and maybe strategy and decision making for clients. How did that happen? How long has that been going on? And I mean, is that the case, or you're kind of the man for all that at Quinlan?
Unfortunately, right now, yes. I guess the onus is on me.
Right on.
Um, but I don't know. I'm just one of those types of people that is always seeking knowledge, and
Mm.
not only that, but I like to share with others. What I've learned. So I guess I've kind of fallen into this role of kind of being the thought leader when
Uh-huh.
it comes to content marketing on our end. Yeah, and it really I'm the one that's kind of pushing blogs onto a lot of our clients and showing the importance of that and helping them keep up with quality and quantity. Maybe 8 to 12 blog posts in a particular month.
Mm-hmm.
What the focus of them should be. The importance of that. Well, I guess how author rank could play could be a big signal in the
Mm-hmm.
future. Guest posting, what's going on with guest posting, where that could head with Penguin 2.0.
Where is
It's
that
all.
gonna head, by the way? Where?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same question.
I've been asking everybody that's coming on the show. That's my role. I try to get answers from the guest. I'm like, tell me. Everyone's reluctant to say it's going to be a certain way, obviously, but I don't
well,
know.
Matt, Matt Cutts just published that. I think it was like yesterday or so. The webmaster video, where basically he kind of hinted at a few things that editorials are going to be targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Certain ads that put that past page rank are going to be targeted. Hacked sites.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do a better job at kind of identifying hacked sites and malicious sites and that kind of thing, and helping webmasters report that kind of stuff. But I think like I mentioned before, guest posting I think is going to be under the microscope a little bit more moving forward, to the degree that outreach teams are going to have to be very mindful of the page rank of certain sites that they may want to publish on. Probably three and above it would probably be the minimum, and I would say in terms of domain authority, maybe 40 or higher on on the MOS scale. So you're gonna have to kind of pass some minimum requirements, and then I would say then relevancy kind of creeps in. You need to make sure that the site that you're publishing on is relevant to kind of what your client is targeting. So if you're selling self-storage, maybe you don't publish that article on a I don't know, a sports site that talks about like the Yankees or something like that.
Sure,
It just
sure.
it, need to make sure that the domain and the actual content itself on that site are relevant with what you're trying to target and your audience, and it needs to sync up with your client. And also, I don't think just kind of having that guest post uh, uh, connotation I think is going to work anymore, where you just kind of publish like anonymously. I
Uh-huh.
think you're going to need to be an actual person, an actual author, that someone on the client side is going to have to establish a Google Plus profile, an authoritative stance, and then publish on another site as them and having it link with maybe a rel author tag.
Hmm.
Uh, Things like that. I think there's going to be more accountability, and if you don't have that level of accountability or relevancy or quality, it's going to hurt you in the long run. I think that's where it's headed. Especially, this is a PubCon thing, but that Google Plus in particular isn't a social media platform, but it's an identity
Hmm.
platform. That's where they're headed. They really want Google wants to be able to identify and hold people accountable in that you're not going to be, you can no longer be anonymous floating around kind of doing what you want. They want your identity known.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
that's
And
their head.
identity platform's a good way to put it. And all the things that you're describing, I think, are things that we've seen coming or have been iterating towards for years. Cutting, can't cut corners. All the lazy stuff isn't going to work, and that's going to benefit, I think, agencies like yours and ours and people that go at it our way. It may kind of sound like, oh, they're taking away the fun stuff, but not really. I mean, it's not really the stuff that we're doing anyway. Um, you mentioned, advising your clients on how many posts to do per month, maybe strategically advising them on the type of content to publish, and then also mentioning, now that they're going to have to maybe attach a Google Plus profile, a Google identity to that blog and that content. How do
Yeah.
you address like them being like maybe a small business owner, even a medium-sized business owner, like we don't have a person that can be that voice or that face, or who should that person be? How have you guys dealt with that with some of your clients?
Ooh, it's tricky,
Yeah.
especially when you might be dealing with a client that has turnover.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be known to, or I have known clients that hire the intern. They kind of manage or they champion the social media stuff on their end, and then they go back to school, and you never hear from them again. And
Right.
then enter next intern. So what we kind of do there is, or what we have done, I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but we create a persona. And that persona, we kind of, we create a name, and we have a particular profile for that person that fits kind of the audience profile that we're trying to target. And we have the writers, on the client side or our side, kind of just contribute for that particular author and develop and build that particular authorship up for that persona.
Right.
Uh, that's one way that I've seen it, and that's kind of what we've done in the past. But it does help when you have an actual person on their end that's has some long standing with the company that's going to be with them moving forward. That's absolutely the best. Or I also recommend maybe contracting with an authoritative author, maybe a subject matter expert. So if it's self storage and you want to start talking about and maybe on your blog, um, home decor, home
Mm-hmm.
organization, or something like that. Seek out, authors of those particular topics, have them right on your site, and have them help you with outreach and kind of leverage their their authority
Right.
to your benefit.
Yeah, man, I think that is a great way to go about it. It's kind of you got to kind of do it manually, I guess, when you're in that case. There's no easy place to go and plug and play and find the person. Sometimes it's tough, in my experience, to you mentioned the home decor blogger. Maybe like, well, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't like you paying me to do this, or and am I an employee or not? Are you going to try to control my editorial content? Like, it can be messy, but I think that is
Sure.
certainly a way to go about it. And we've done the persona thing as well. You have to imagine that Google would prefer it to be a real person, but there's no good answer to a legitimate issue of the person could move on, leave the company on bad terms, leave you out to dry. You'd invested in them, and they've built up this digital asset for you that you don't know how to transfer or carry forward. There should be a tool that like lets you do that. By the way, we should build it or
Yeah.
something. Google will probably just build it for themselves, but interesting, interesting. And let's talk about self storage a little bit because I like that it's a bit of a boring industry. I mean, you talk about that aspect of it first.
Yep.
But it's also an industry where if you're talking about blogging and producing content, on an every other day basis, or even out on third party sites and trying to promote something, you're quickly maybe your mind's like, all right, well, what am I going to write about? Am I going to write about storing stuff in a garage? Like, and I think it's a great example of ones where you can kind of quickly jump outside of the box and have a whole lot of like different communities that you could be talking about or talking to with your content. Because who uses self storage? College students, people that are moving, military people that move around a lot. It's a very local, hyper local business, so you can always talk about the local communities. Those things were always cool to be like, well, we can talk about all these things. We don't just have to talk about storage. Now we have an endless amount of content we can provide for the marketing side. Is that what you guys have done? I mean, what else have you guys come up with? What's your strategy in self storage? Tell me that whole
Sure.
story.
Sure. I'll give you the secret sauce now.
There we go.
As far as self storage goes, and there's a great speaker at PubCon again. Sorry, it's top of mind,
It's all right.
but it's also after 6 o'clock here, so it's late in the day. But anyway, his name is Tron, and Tron works for I think Storage Mart or something like that. And he was he had a good quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but basically that um, self storage only kind of comes about or comes to mind. It's kind of like divorce attorneys and that only when your wife tells you you need it.
Right, right.
Uh, and that when as soon as you start searching for it, you basically want to purchase it immediately. It's not something you're going to research, for months and months and months. The timeline in the funnels is very very quick and short, and you have to capture those people very quickly. So kind of the strategy that we've used with our self storage clients is more or less staying top of mind and staying relevant so that when their wife or their spouse does prompt them with getting rid of their stuff, that they're top of mind and they know to go to a particular storage company. So what we do there is we kind of went beyond just how to rent a storage unit, how to pack a storage unit, storage unit, storage unit. We went beyond that to let's talk organization. Let's talk things that you do on a day-to-day basis that is helpful for you that ultimately could lead to storage. So we try to take it, back a few steps to get it on the day-to-day level. To talk about, just DIY, how you can kind of grab certain things around you and organize your things that in a MacGyverish way. You can grab a paperclip, a pen and something else and come up with something interesting for your house. And
Right.
people are interested in that on a day-to-day basis where, they would frequent a blog, they would frequent, a social media page or things like that. And then they associate your storage company with that, the helpful tips and the resourcefulness and the fact that you seem to be a trusted resource. And then it ultimately leads to making that purchase and that conversion, or what the self-storage industry calls an in.
An in.
So yeah, it's all about matter of getting to that in stage, but it begins with being every day, top of mind, helpful,
Right.
and helpful in a way that's you just keep giving yourself and giving away tips for free, more or less.
Nice.
It's almost like you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. Eventually, it'll come back to you.
That's the only way to do it these days, I guess.
Right.
Um, well, we know that business is very hyper local. I've said that a few times, and having done stuff in that industry as well, I know it. What have you guys done if, from an SEO standpoint, or even from a paid standpoint, Google Places, to position clients in the proper way for that industry?
Sure, sure. Well, let me just start by saying in the self-storage industry, it's I forget the exact numbers, but it's like 40 or 50% of customers will search from a particular city within that city to try to find self-storage. So it's very local or hyper local, as you mentioned, or micro local. It's mentioned in a whole different bunch of different ways. So it's really important to rank well, within the customer's particular city. So customer A in, say, Chicago, who's just maybe searching for just storage unit, you need to rank well there in that particular context.
Right.
That across maybe 50 to 100 to maybe 150 different cities that way. And what we kind of have, our approach has been, on the on-page side, it's a matter of kind of having a dedicated page to that particular DMA or city, where maybe you have some copy on the page that speaks to that particular location. So if you're in Chicago, maybe you're mentioning Lincoln Park or something like that. Things that natives would kind of understand, and then also you build in some structured data. So you go into schema behind the scenes, you identify the phone numbers, and maybe there's offers, local offers, or things like that. You have that set up on the technical side. Maps, you incorporate Google Maps. There's certain things you do on page first. Then kind of off page, you step away and make sure you get citations. For instance, use Whitespark or Yext, and make sure you get maybe 200 or so citations on a per city landing page basis. Make sure name, address, phone number, how it goes on all the different citation places that you're like I mentioned, you're using Yext, you're on Yellow Pages, you're in certain directories. You're getting local reviews that you're reaching out. That's another big signal of moving forward, is reviews. That you're getting reviews, say on your plus page, and from locals. If you're in Chicago, you're getting it from other people in Chicago that are commenting, and you're ultimately linking to your particular landing page from that place page.
How are you? Because that was a thing that we were messing with as well, and I know reviews. This goes for any local business, are playing a big part in how companies are going to be found and how they're perceived, just from a reputation standpoint as well. How do you guys encourage people to leave those reviews? I mean, you almost have to get involved at the branch level, or the facility level, to get them to encourage that, or is it email marketing? How are you guys able to successfully get people to leave feedback?
That's a really hard question. I thought I was going to
Yeah.
get softballs today. No, that's a great question, and something I mean, we're constantly trying to improve the process there.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, it was almost like you could just set up a laptop at maybe the branch level and have everybody just, as they're paying the money for their storage unit, you just
Right.
have them review. It's kind of part of the process, over and done, you move on.
Right.
But that doesn't fly. It's all from the same IP. Google can detect that kind of thing. It's spammy, so you can't do that. What we kind of do now is, if you have, let's say you get a storage unit, and you've been a long-time customer or something like that, we'll give you a postcard. I think there's been coupons associated with. There's been certain incentives with it.
Right.
I think that's the best way to get them. You have to incentivize employees in that, but.
Yeah.
Some of it's digital. Some of it's after you make that online reservation per se. You get a survey, and based on the survey results, they may ask you a quick survey, by the way, maybe like one page. How's your experience, 1 to 10? Anything we can improve, over and done. If it's positive, you kind of send a follow-up. Thank you. Here's maybe a coupon. Would you mind having a review? And you kind of steer them towards a couple opportunities.
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Those are some things we've used in the past.
Well, I think I mean, there's no magic to it, really. I mean, it's just you have to ask, and sometimes you have to incentivize, and really it's building in the processes and the systems to ensure that these things are going to happen. A lot of people are going to lose the game because they're just either not thinking about this or not taking the time to put all these things in place. And, you can tell the storage industry is, if you can tackle that one from a marketing perspective, then you can take on just about anything, right? Because it's got so many nuances to it that I think a lot of businesses don't have.
Yeah, the big thing right now is well, not the big thing now, but the faux pas, the thing that you don't want to talk about is um, storage wars.
Oh,
Storage
yeah.
wars. The storage industry hates storage wars. Oh, I mean, maybe the big name,
Right.
the big storage companies out there, just because it really brings to light and exposes kind of the dark side of self storage, and they try to have articles in that if a storage something happens with there's an auction, someone's stuff gets sold. Because there are people that are delinquent in their payments, and they go months and months and months, and they have no choice but to sell, their belongings to
Right.
make up the rent. I mean, it's a known fact, but it's tough to get those people to leave reviews later, right? So it's certainly a challenge, and I think it happens. It's ultimately, I think, a matter of a branch manager or someone at a self storage, at the actual location level, to identify particular people that are happy that they've established a face-to-face relationship with. Maybe they've seen them come and go over time, and just say, "Hey, Sally or Bob, would you mind going to our website or going here? Maybe we have a little business card for them," and they go and they fill out a nice review
Yeah.
for them. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's also if you're thinking of the person who's on site, you know their name, their face, or you're seeing them in person. It's a lot different than getting a canned, somewhat corporate email from, Public Storage or whatever company that you have no affinity to that you fucking hate because you pay them 120 bucks a month for storage or whatever. But
Right,
Billy, the guy
exactly,
that runs the local thing, if he asks, that's all right. I think that's smart.
exactly, exactly.
So let's circle back to Quinlan, I guess, as we wrap it up here. The agency itself. I mean, what's new there? What do you see over the next year or two for the company? I don't know. What comes to mind for you and yourself and where you guys are going? And I don't
Um,
know. Anything like that?
Tough question. Hopefully, my
Yeah.
boss is watching,
I'm
but
really good at these interviews, by the way. This is like my 10th one, so I'm very professional.
I would say I mean, the biggest challenge is just staying current and ahead of the game. To be able to, we're as being a small agency, we're kind of in the weeds a lot.
Mhm.
Um, I have to wear certain hats where maybe I'm programming or working on design with the designer and things like that. It's tough sometimes to kind of separate yourself and go top level
Mhm.
and think, where's the industry headed? And I mean, Google Glass, for instance, just one thing that comes to mind for me. Is that the future? I really want to get a pair. I want to be one of the first people to have that, to see if that is something that we're going to have to be mindful of in the future as we
Mhm.
continue to, that on-person computing and whatnot. And also along the lines of Google, they're working on this thing called Google Brain. It's kind of it's not augmented reality. I forget what the name of it is, but it's like deep learning, where basically they're constructing computers to mimic the human brain. So maybe Google in the future might not have, kind of the algorithm, the machines, and then kind of the human raters in the future. Maybe it's machines that think like humans. I mean, I'm thinking I'm going
Scary.
sci-fi, but I mean, there's certain things that I think we need to kind of just pay attention to. Obviously, we're not going to work as if that's how things are now, but
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of it again. Uh, just even like what I mentioned before, when I kind of had my brain fart, if you will. Um, Responsive design. That's something we're going to have. It's something that we need to start addressing with each one of our clients. We've already started, but we need to do a better job at it. Where we need to, some of our clients have a mobile site, and then they have kind of the desktop version of the site. And the mobile version, there needs to be some sort of JavaScript hook or detection there. What are we talking? Is it truly a handheld phone? all right, let's serve them the mobile site. When really it should probably be more responsive, especially when the different screen sizes, different devices that are out there, and just kind of stretch and scale and do what it needs to do on a per device basis. I think that's where things are headed there too. I think responsive design is a big thing. I mean, we talked about kind of the SEO stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That Google's gonna, from an SEO standpoint, guest posts and how off-page link building is going to change. Maybe it's not links anymore; it's going to be reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you have a review plan moving forward? As we're kind of again discussing, how do you get those reviews? How do you get good reviews, localized reviews, instead of getting the links and kind of manipulating, link profiles and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot going on. But Quinlan specifically, we're just going to continue to bring in hybrid talents, people that have traditional that have the digital background, that we teach them and develop them in traditional. We incorporate professional development. We keep them updated with certifications. We have time set aside for them to learn and to stay current with things and what's going on. And always hiring A-level talent. I think it's one of the hardest things in the world, but to focusing on that. And sometimes that takes a lot of work, and where you almost need to have what we're doing here, I guess, is almost having a farm team or a minor league team of the future of Quinlan, where we have interns kind of enroll in a Quinlan program where we develop them. Mm-hmm. We identify which ones are stronger than other ones and kind of help them rise up the ranks and through Quinlan. And that's another thing we're kind of working on, that I never want to pass on A-level talent, and I'm always interested in hiring developers and people that are always, in the code, because I think the future is in code, big time, and more people are starting to catch on that it's becoming more and more about analytics, about code, and the people that have those skill sets are invaluable.
Right.
So,
And people that have those skill sets that are also like as polished as you are as like just a businessman and somebody who can speak the language of just not only business but everyday conversation have traditionally and maybe stereotypically been hard to find, but the ones that you do find, and hopefully there are more people that are kind of like slashers that understand that stuff, can manipulate it, and can also be like a C-level exec of a business or a founder. I mean, those are the most dangerous guys on the planet. So they're lucky to have you, and it seems like it's a good agency. I mean, it's got a little bit of that, like, the Midwestern, the right way to do things, to treat people, to educate people, to bring things along, the long-term client relationships. I really like that, and it sounds like as long as you guys can have those relationships with clients and stay on the cutting edge like you are, going to be successful. So that's really cool.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, I liked hearing a lot more about it, man. It was nice sitting down, and I'm sure we could do this again and talk for another hour or two. And I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. Anything else?
No,
All right.
this is fantastic. I appreciate it. I'm flattered that you guys invited me here, and I want to apologize. You might want to cut that clip out earlier. I was thinking about some other things, and I'm trying to get the day-to-day off my mind. But I appreciate talking top level with you. I really enjoy it.
Sure.
I really admire what you've done as well, and I'm flattered to be a part of this. So
All
thank
right.
you.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. You've been my favorite guest to date. I hope none of the other ones watch and see it. But we'll do it again sometime soon, and I'll talk to you soon, Ryan.
Thanks, Nathaniel.
All
Take
right.
care.
See you, man.